Spirituality saved my life when I was first starting out, but years later, it was keeping me from actually living it. And I didn't even realize it was happening because I'm the girl who discovered manifestation at 19 years old and found my way out of $25,000 in debt, who left corporate America to build a multi-million-dollar business, get featured in Forbes, and build a media brand of hundreds of thousands of people online. But the journey from manifestation obsessed to success isn't what you'd expect. I'm gonna show you my journey from how spirituality saved me, then trapped me, and finally what you can do now if you're facing something like this too and succeed 10 times faster. Because if you're exhausted from trying to be better, but can't seem to stop watching self-help or spiritual content, this is everything you need to hear. Even if you love personal development like I still do, this isn't about rejecting everything that helped you. It's about knowing when self-work becomes self-sabotage. Let me start out by saying this. Spirituality genuinely saved my life. My parents got divorced when I was young. My mom sent my brother and I to therapy. And then when I was about 14, she found me this incredible life coach who I still keep in touch with today. That woman opened my eyes to spirituality and changed everything for me. She taught me the foundational practices that literally keep me going through some of my darkest moments. When I was seeing her, high school wasn't so kind to me. I was bullied, losing friendships left and right, and those experiences really left marks that followed me for years. Limiting beliefs that told me I wasn't worthy of being seen and that people would judge me, that I should stay small. That's why I got a corporate job and felt like I was just checking the boxes of my life. I even got to a point in my life right after college where I had no friends. But here's what saved me. I had this life coach, which was great. I was reading books, I was listening to Gary Vee, podcasts, I was doing the inner work. But then I had this intuitive voice, and I remember hearing it so clearly. Spend this time alone, spend this time working on you. I had no friends, so I would just listen to podcasts, I would work, I would try to make some money online. And that is what changed everything for me. Because I made a decision that I would rather have no friends than be friends with people who tore me down. It's kind of like that saying, I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for what I'm not. But everything changed for me the summer of 2019 when I discovered the book The Secret and I learned what manifestation was, and that absolutely changed my life. I was manifesting everything. I manifested my way out of $25,000 in debt. I was selling clothes on Poshmark, and I was just so enthused and excited about what manifestation was, and such a firm believer that this could become my reality, which then led me to quit my Wall Street job. Even though it looked perfect on paper, it made me miserable. I invested over $5,000 into a business coach before I felt ready, but I just kept trusting, and the universe kept rewarding me. I had this delusional confidence that I could do whatever I wanted, so I did. I built a business, and now I've helped hundreds of other women do the same. But then in 2020, I lost someone very close to me to their battle with mental health. And that loss opened my eyes in a way that nothing else could. I found my purpose for living. I realized my life was too short not to live it to the fullest. And it might sound cliche, but why was I working to do something I didn't care about when I saw that everything could literally just be taken away from you in the blink of a second? So that's when I started posting on social media. I was posting about manifestation, mental health, and really living a full life because these were the things that I was doing at the time. I finally broke my 5,000 follower plateau and I scaled to over 20,000 followers on Instagram in just a few months. And on TikTok at this point, I had already crossed over 100,000 followers. Spirituality gave me everything. Reading books like The Secret, having someone like Gary Vee yelling in my corner not to give up. Day by day, this built up my confidence and gave me success. So why am I making a video if all of these amazing things have happened to me because of spirituality? And it's because somewhere along the way, spirituality stopped being a tool and it became a crutch. Let me explain. I went from using manifestation to transform my life to needing it to do anything. My alarm went off at 5 a.m., meditation, journaling, gratitude, visualization, green smoothie, yoga, movement, breath work, all the things. By the time I'd actually started my day, I'd been working on myself for 2.5 hours. And what happened was I was addicted to becoming better rather than actually doing the work that I needed to do to just get better results in my life. I was always searching outside of me, always wondering what I needed to heal next, what block I needed to clear, what new modality would finally make me feel complete. And even worse, I'd be a part of communities where this was the norm. They told me just manifest it into existence. If you don't have money, you don't have followers, just manifest it. You can have anything that you want, which I believe is fundamentally true unless it's scientifically impossible. But what I realized is that those telling me to be this way were broke, scared, and even worse, broken. There's a dark side to the spiritual world, those addicted to healing and not doing any work. I call them optimizers. They're here to do the least work for the most, and that's when I realized that's not who I am. I was spending thousands of dollars a year on courses and coaches. I was spending hours every day on practices that were supposed to make me happy, but I wasn't happy. I was becoming desperate and attached. And we all know that attachment is the key blocker to manifestation. And you see, the breaking point didn't come to me overnight. It was more like a slow whisper that eventually turned into a roar. On the outside, it looked productive. I looked intentional. I looked like I had my life together, but I was drowning. I couldn't remember the last time I had did something spontaneous. The last time I said yes to an unplanned coffee date, or the last time I just sat down and did nothing without feeling guilty. And then I saw something that completely changed my perspective. I came across Layla Hormozi and listened to her story. Here's a woman who was arrested 6 times, dealt with serious childhood trauma, had every reason to spend years in therapy before taking action. But she didn't wait until she was perfectly healed. She built a business and worked on herself at the same time, not perfectly, not fully healed, just moving forward. And that's when it clicked for me. What if I had been doing this backwards? What if the goal was to find my purpose, be drastically consistent with living it, and it could just be that simple? I started looking at the women that I genuinely admired, and it was never for how much money they had, but for actually the fulfillment that they lived in their day-to-day life. And none of them were posting about their latest breakthrough every week. They weren't constantly talking about how much money they made. They were just winning. Present, real, imperfect, obsessed with the game of life and business. Of course, they've done personal development work, went to a Tony Robbins seminar, but it wasn't their full personality and it wasn't their full-time job. And that's when I realized the spiritual community had sold me a lie that I wasn't enough. So I did what I do best, and I made a radical decision. I gave myself permission to be imperfect and do the damn thing anyway. I didn't throw everything personal development taught me away. That would be like throwing away the ladder that helped me climb out of a hole. But instead, I changed my relationship with it. I wake up at 4 a.m., not because I'm following someone else's protocol. I wake up at 4 a.m. because I genuinely love that time to work. I love watching the sunrise over the house that my fiance and I bought together. And I still read, but I read what calls to me, not just obsession with spirituality and self-help. I read fiction, and I read things to actually enjoy and take a break. I still do inner work, I still meditate, and I still believe in the power of manifestation. But now it's just a part of who I am being. It's not something that I necessarily need to do every single day, like a routine or a daily performance. So here's what happened to me when I left this world. My business grew, and not because I was working more hours or clearing more blocks, but because I had the mental space to think clearly and make better decisions. And a big part of that was realizing that confidence is actually built through reps and results. My body started to get stronger because I didn't just eat what felt good. I ate what I knew my body needed. I actually learned the science of my body and what my body needs. I got more intuitive with what makes me feel good and not just started making fake goals that are just for vanity. I became deeply connected to my business, and I stopped building it to achieve some random milestones and actually started building it around me and the way that I operate. So let me be really clear. I'm not anti-manifestation and spirituality. I'm anti the people that use it as a crutch, and even worse, those that use it as an excuse to not do any work and act like their life is perfect. I still value growth and I do the work I need to do when I need it, But the difference now is that manifestation is a tool in my toolbox, not my entire identity. I don't need to journal about my money blocks for 2 hours. I need to find what's broken, fix it, and have the resiliency to keep going even when it gets hard. I don't need to spend every morning visualizing and affirming. I just need to take inspired action and trust the process that's in alignment with my goals. But that's not it. Here's the final uncomfortable truth that the spiritual industry does not want you to know. They profit from keeping you in a perpetual state of not quite there yet. Because if you believed you were enough right now, you'd stop buying the courses, attending the retreats, stop consuming content about how to become better. And I say this as someone who sells courses and as someone who teaches this work. But my promise to you is that what I teach you is designed to get you results, not keep you stuck in an endless state of self-work. Because your younger self, the one who survived the bullying, the loneliness, the heartbreak, whatever it was, she doesn't need you to be perfect, she needs you to be free. And freedom does not come from one more breakthrough. It comes from choosing to live exactly as you are right now and showing up scared. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Spirituality, personal development, self-help, whatever you want to call it, it can save your life. It saved mine. And I will always be grateful for it. But if you're using it to avoid actually living your life, that's a sign to pause. So here's your action step. I want you to take a time audit because we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and I want you to actually track what you're doing all day. Because the ones who will succeed, they will prioritize their 24 hours in a day better. Because freedom only matters if you have a life worth living with that freedom. You shouldn't have to choose between growth and peace. You need to start living your life by design, not by default. So if you like this video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.